Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. We kick things off with football and the contract dispute between the Jamaica Football Federation, JFF, and the Reggae Boyz. The parties have been at odds over the contract for the 14 matches scheduled in the upcoming World Cup qualification campaign. Several players, including captain Andre Blake, Damian Lowe, Devon Williams, O'Neil Fisher, Junior Flemings and Amal Knight, have taken to social media to express their frustrations with the salary negotiation. In what appears to be a coordinated plan, they all posted the following image with the caption, "Take a stance," with the hashtag Stronger Together. At the heart of the matter is a demand by the players for a match fee of $7,000, a counter offer to the JFF's proposal of $2,000. George, amid media reports that the boys failed to sign the contracts by last Friday's deadline, what have your sources been saying?
All right, so a couple of things. There seems to be, based on what sources close to the negotiations told me earlier today, I'll put that on one side, and then I'll put on the other side what Leighton Levy, senior writer with SportsMax.tv, found out today when he spoke to Andre Blake, the Reggae Boyz captain. Now, in a story posted on SportsMax.tv, it's there for you to read if you like. Leighton has spoken with Blake, who has told him that yes, the players did not sign the contract. In fact, I'm quoting a line from a passage from the article. It says, what they, the JFF, have on the table is what it is. You sign it, you are eligible for selection. If you don't, then you're out. So at this point, yes, I and the players, this is Andre Blake speaking, said, sorry, but we cannot sign that contract. So that's where we are at right now. Now, it's interesting because earlier today, sources close to the negotiations told me that the boys did not reject the contract offer. Remember that there's been a story trending all weekend long that the boys did indeed reject the contract offer. My sources told me that no, it wasn't that the contract offer was rejected. What it is that the boys asked for more time. So I said, oh, when is that terminal new point? The source said, well, it is March 12, which is Friday coming. So I was told earlier today that the boys wanted until March 12 to sign the contract. But now we are hearing Andre Blake saying, no, at the weekend, on last Friday's deadline, we indicated before the expiration of deadline that we are not signing the contract. What I also learned additionally was that, I asked, what is the status of the March 25 friendly against the United States in Austria? Because remember that there was an agreement on the table between the players and the JFF about that particular friendly. And I was told, well, that friendly is separate and apart from the contract, the substantive contract that the dispute is surrounding. The USA friendly is fine, according to my sources, but it's the other contract. Now, what is this other contract? It's a contract that has a tenure from April 1 this year to 2023. So April 1, 2021 to 2023. And in that period would cover games in the CONCACAF Gold Cup, of course, and World Cup qualifiers along with other games. So it's a 2-year contract for that period that is at the heart of the dispute. So I said, okay, the money's involved. Why can't the JFF budge? And my sources said, well, look, George, we heard you talk about a $5,000 fee, match fee that was paid to the players back in 2015, and that figure is indeed correct. But my sources said, well, George, it was the payment of that $5,000 which broke the back of the JFF administration a couple of cycles removed, and it caused that debt to build up, which we are still paying now. And Lance was the one who said something to that effect last year, that maybe it is the legacy debt is still haunting the JFF. So the source said, right, so that $5,000 caused a debt which we are still paying off. He said that in terms of good financial management and financial prudence, the JFF couldn't, whether in good conscience or from a basic sensibility kind of perspective, or even an understanding of how numbers work where budgeting and management are concerned, could not now pay $7,000 when it lacked the ability to so do. One of the sources said to me, well, can you imagine, as directors and given the duties that we are bound to perform as per the Companies Act of Jamaica, that piece of legislation, where it is that a director of a company has a duty of care to an organization. He said that we would be acting outside of that duty if we were to intentionally saddle the organization with debt going forward to create another legacy debt at a time when we're trying to pay off one legacy debt. So what he was saying was that to pay 7,000 US now is going to create a massive debt down the road, and we don't want to do that. So I was clear. So I said, okay, how many players are you expecting to sign on to what you have on the table, which some players have rejected? He said, well, it's not rejection. They've asked for an extension to March 12th. So I said, how many players? He says, at this point in time, over 50 players now have contracts from the JFF, because what one of the sources was keen to say was that, look, the fact of the matter is, the group that Blake is in, they had the contract offer first. We, after they asked for more time, decided that in the interest of fairness, to send that contract offer to a bigger group of players. So 55 players, well, not 55, over 50 players now have those contracts in hand and are mulling over the contents, and will get back to us hopefully by March 12th this week as to whether or not they're going to sign or not. So that's what my information is at this moment in time. All right, so I think we can go to the president of the JFF, Michael Rick. It's a good stage we've set for him to join us. Now, JFF President, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Is there anything? Well, let me ask specific questions. Insofar as the contract offer on the table for, let's call them the group involving Andre Blake, Damian Lowe, Adrian Mariappa, and company. You know that group quite well. What is it? Is it that group? Are you confirmed? Can you confirm whether that group has indeed rejected the contract offer, saying they're not signing it, or is it that they've asked for more time?
What happened, George and Maria, is that the negotiating team, and I don't really want to micromanage, but the negotiating team had actually advised me that the lawyer, Mr. Robert Taylor, had actually asked for an extension based, of course, on a request made by the defense. We have not gotten an official response from the lawyer to say that I am letting the players, and they have categorically rejected the contract. So all of what we're hearing is actually via social media.
Yes.
But for an official response from the lawyer, Robert Taylor, actually representing the players, we have not yet gotten such information.
So it is correct. It is correct then, Mr. President, to say that what we are reporting now, that based on what we've been told by persons close to the negotiations, that the players have not submitted a formal rejection of the contract offer, but that they have asked for more time. That is correct.
Well, that's what we got from the lawyer, who is actually formally representing us. But we have seen on social media coming from something, and that suggests that they are not in agreement with content of the contract. But to say we have got an official response from the player, not yet.
Good. We understand that about a bigger group of players now have contracts in hand, looking at the contents and considering the JFF's invitation to sign those contracts. Can you confirm that over 50 players now have contracts looking at, Mr. President?
I wouldn't share on the numbers, but I know a number of players have actually gotten copies of contracts. And some of them, I'm sure, will sign, some will not sign. But you see, George,
yes,
what I want to make very clear is that the JFF is not in a fight with the players. We don't want to get in a fight with the players. And the players do have rights. And of course, they have a right to ask for what they want. But it's for us to find this middle ground, us meeting the JFF with the players, and to respectfully and amicably settle wage dispute.
Yes.
We don't want to be upset with players, and we want to take it all the kind of attitude. We want to speak with the players, negotiate with the players, and come up with something that is reasonable for both the players and for the JFF.
Yes, I hear you on that. So, but just walk with me a little bit. Bear with me here. You say you can't confirm the number 50 plus, which was my information. That's fine, but you can confirm that the number of players who now have contracts in hand, that number is greater than had the contract last week Friday.
I I probably want to think so, yeah.
Okay, good, good. All right. Give us an idea of the numbers now, Mr. President, because this is what frustrates me about things like these. Both parties making their argument, of course, out of self-interest, and players are looking after players. That's perfectly fine. The JFF looking after the JFF, that's perfectly fine. And you're trying to meet halfway to look after each other at the same time. What is the scale of the debt caused by the $5,000 match fee paid in 2015? Because the JFF is using that to say this nearly sunk us. We can't put ourselves in that position again. But what is it that what is the size of the debt caused by that $5,000 in 2015?
I probably wouldn't be able to tell you off the top of my head. But everybody would know that we inherited a federation that was deep in debt. And we are trying to get ourselves some kind of a stability. And we managed to achieve $60 million from that debt. And like you did say, the Companies Act would certainly hold us culpable if we were to just arbitrarily go into arrangements that would put us further into indebtedness. So we want to be reasonable. And based on my information, that $5,000 per game includes, based on what was advised, bonuses. So it would be 5,000 inclusive of everything. What our initial offer was 2,000 plus 1,000 for bonus and 1,000 for winning a game, 500 for draw. Right, and then of course the bonus for at least 15% if we do get the World Cup with a percent of the prize money.
Yes.
But the room certainly ought to be there for further discussion. We just don't want to have the picture or leave it, dude. The players and JFF must have a good relationship. I want that to continue that way.
Yeah,
of course, like I said, they are adults, they are grown people, right? To make
we have to take the break. We have to take the break, Mr. President. We don't want you to leave. But when you say the room is there for negotiations, that means then that the JFF's position of $2,000, that hard position, is you're residing from that. You can answer that question after the break.
Okay.
Please stay with us. The president of the JFF, Michael Ricketts, is with us. We are going to continue with him after the break. Back with us on SportsMax, and I almost said back with us on social media, because what was in my head was that social media is where the Reggae Boyz have gone to with a coordinated approach to communicating to the public and with their various publics about this contract negotiation with the Jamaica Football Federation, whose president, Michael Ricketts, is speaking to us now. Mr. Ricketts sounding rather conciliatory and even-tempered as he speaks about the impasse, and clearly expressing a desire to wrap this up amicably, to stir no bad blood with the players, to win their trust, and to ensure that both parties leave the negotiation table feeling satisfied. So to that extent, President Ricketts, I asked before the break if you are suggesting to me that the previous JFF position of $2,000 per match for the World Cup qualifiers and the other games was a hard position, that maybe that position is not so hard now. You're planning to depart from that to meet the players somewhere.
George, you know what my biggest concern has been is that we would have heard of this 7,000 ask from the players. And I understand that the captain actually said via whatever media house that they know that the 7,000 was ridiculous, but that's where they're starting. My problem is I have not yet heard what would be an acceptable figure for the players, since that 7,000 is ridiculous, and that's where they're starting from.
But hold on, President, hold on. The captain was speaking here when he made comments about the 7,000. I don't remember if he added ridiculous as a rider, but I remember him talking about that here. But what we got from his statement, though, was that 7,000 is their starting point, but they are willing to come down and meet you somewhere. But I'm asking you if you're willing to go up from 2,000, yes.
And that's why I'm saying, George, that we have not heard via the negotiating or from the players what that middle ground would be. And I would honestly want to think that we ought to have heard from the players whether we could accept $2,100 or $6,900 or $3,000. That we have not heard. And I'd love to know from these players what is the figure that you have in mind.
Mr. Ricketts, I'd like to find out, heard how. Is it that you want to hear from them via social media or on our program? Or is it that there's such a bad communication between the JFF and the players that you all can't discuss these things between yourselves?
What happened, Maria? Am I correct, Maria?
Mariah, yeah, it's fine.
Mariah. Okay. We would have tasked with the responsibility a committee that, of course, would have the overall responsibility to start and, of course, complete the negotiations. They would have been the middle ground between the JFF and the players. So they would report to us from time to time. And really, we don't want to micromanage. So we have given them the responsibility. And, of course, we expect to complete the task. We will now discuss with them where their thought processes are, and then, of course, see what's next. I have a meeting this evening with the hierarchy of the JFF at 7 o'clock, and certainly it could very be a one-night agenda where we just look at how best we're going to deal with this particular issue.
President Ricketts, there is a quote from the captain, Andre Blake, in the SportsMax.tv story today, which suggested that they were told by the JFF's negotiating team that they will not be accepting any counter offer from the players because the 2,000 is final, which sounds completely different from what you are telling us now.
And I am saying that I still have not heard of a figure that the players would accept. And again, I want to reiterate that the players and the JFF must have a proper relationship. And I am not going to be vindictive to anybody. I'm not going to be antagonistic to anybody. We just want to have a proper relationship and to find some middle ground to settle this wage dispute. Like I said, we meet this evening at 7 o'clock. Then, of course, we'll continue meeting with negotiating. And then we'll take it from there.
President, one last question. And I want you to be as clear as you can. You're a man who speaks clear all the time. I expect you to be very clear now. If it is that the JFF, in sending the contract, you are one of the primary parties, of course, the other one being the players. You have made the offer. The original offer is yours. Your offer was 2,000. The players wrote you back, thank you for your offer, but we find 2,000 to be low. We think 7,000. Clearly, Mr. President, the next communication in that ought to come from you to say, all right, you put 7,000 on the table, but we think that based on the revision of our numbers and our look and a review of our position, 3,500 is where we can go now. So when I hear you say you haven't seen anything from the players to suggest a number, the ball is in your court. You're at the free throw line, Mr. President. It's your shot. So George, you should have another number on the table. Yes.
George,
yes.
The team that was negotiating with Mr. Taylor, who was representing the players. Mr. Taylor was the person representing the players. And he would be the party that was negotiating with the JFF. So I'm pretty certain that they would have had discussion in this regard. They meaning Mr. Taylor and the negotiating team. And like I'm saying, that the JFF actually started at 1,000 and went to 2,000. So we really need to sit down and work out and see how best we can, because the truth is, we don't want to start what we think that would. I think we have what that could do very well at the do.
Yes.
and could do very well.
I'm hearing you speak in code, and we are out of time. We should have been done already, but I have to put this one in. Are you saying, because that's what I get you saying, are you saying that the 2,000 and 7,000 are no longer the numbers in the room, but that based on negotiations between your team and Mr. Taylor on behalf of the players, that there are some other numbers there that you want to now be formalized and sent to the JFF for the final discussions to start around those new numbers? Is that what you're saying?
Personally, that's what I want. Personally.
Is that where negotiations are at, though?
But I am not the JFF. I lead the JFF, but there's a board of directors.
Yes.
And there's an executive committee, and we will meet this evening, and we'll come up with a final decision.
So you're saying in 24 hours, Mr. President, based on the meeting that you'll have with your officers and your directors, you will be in a position to speak to what those numbers are now, those new numbers?
No, not until I speak with the negotiating team.
Hear you on that.
But when I speak, because I really don't want to go over there, so to speak. But the meet with the then of course I have to meet with the negotiating team.
Hear you on that. Thank you for your time today. We hope you have a good meeting at 7 o'clock this evening, Jamaica time.
Thank you very much.
All
George,
the best.
And Maria.
Good. All right, so that's the JFF President, Mike Ricketts. I have a feeling he was saying it without saying it. The negotiations have moved on. The numbers 2 and 7 are no longer the main numbers. We're going to talk about this story on Tuesday's show.
Definitely.